folks to come in and do this.
So, if we decided that improving this document, for example, was going to be our priority through the first part of this next year, if we came back at our next meeting, which would be early, our first quarter meeting, and at that point said, let's go with the folks that you guys already have the relationship with, is that something that then could happen pretty quickly, like quickly enough that they could be, in a position to help us with that part of the process?
Potentially, but I think I need to make sure that these were some ideas that were we were trying to feel out from headquarters of what might be possible, and because we didn't have a specific ask, we didn't get, it wasn't a hard firm, like, absolutely we'll make this happen, we can do it and turn around in a month,
Mm-hmm.
I think there was some positive momentum, but it's not a certainty.
Mm-hmm.
And as you all know, with government things, the sooner I get an okay from you all, the sooner I can start seeing how I can make this work. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna take me some time. Will I be able to then meet that deadline? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this sounds like a project, again, like you said, it's very specific. It sounds like it falls within that purview. I don't have any examples of them doing something like this before, so it would be easier to be like, oh, well, you went and did this over here in this community, we just want that.
Right.
So it'd be easier for them to just plug and play, but this would be something new, and so it might take you, a little bit more time and finessing to get it all worked up into the box that they need it to be in for those specific dollars and resources. So,
Mm-hmm. And we wouldn't want that to become more work than it is really worthwhile, because if we're spending all of our time going back and forth with the contractor rather than maybe doing things we could be doing for ourselves, then that just means a loss of time and energy.
And you talk about the mini grant, the fact you might be able to have something that's right there and work with somebody closer, which is again a faster thing. So there's pros and cons to it, figuring out which resource and which direction to go in.
But if we could figure the mini grant thing out, it could maybe serve as our stopgap of sorts, like until the point where EPA is negotiating the new contract, and then we can be brought in under that umbrella midway through the year anyway.
I want to continue to work with our regional folks there's so many good things that you guys are trying to do here that fits a lot of, like, when we're talking about, we talked about this for some time, like what happens when that emergency order goes away from the federal government, then what? And what groups does our federal government folks who are in charge of that, who are they coming to? How does that play out? And, having forums like this for them to figure out is, I think, very critical. You guys are all plugged in. You're talking about the issues. Community-based folks that are, got your thumb on the pulse of things. So, how can we support, or how can anyone support you all so that you can accomplish the mission that you set forth to do in the first place? So,
if let's imagine in an alternate universe we had quorum tonight, and what we were telling you tonight is let's do the short-term thing. I know you don't know exactly how quickly that could come together, but that's something that the ball would be rolling on that, like even before the holiday break, potentially, and maybe we'd be ready to go on that.
I would go back. So our environmental justice team is waiting for an email from me.
I see.
How this goes tonight.
Okay.
So that I can start bothering the people that we've talked to about this
Right.
already, and be like, all right, we're ready what do we do to make this happen? What do
Right,
you need? What do you
right.
need? And we gotta start shopping this too, because we gotta get some, what funding mechanism goes here, and what, who's in charge of what. I mean, none of that stuff has been figured out. And, I don't want anybody to drop the ball on it, because it's
Yeah.
holiday. But, I mean, there is that issue about, availability and such, but.
Well, yes, Larry, please.
Sounds like we pressure the state for some specifics, and we want a grant writer support from the state, so we can get this short-term program rolling and prepare for July. And they can answer, or do as they've done in the past, not answer. But if we don't make the ask, they're not going to consider it.
Amen.
I would hate to have though, I think it's worth just putting it all out there and seeing what hits first.
Yeah.
Because what I would not wanna see happen, which has the potential to always is, oh, well, that's their thing, they're gonna handle that.
Right.
And that's not ours, isn't that the job of the state or this person or that person? And I would like to chase ours down and get a final, like, an actual, like, shut the door in my face.
Well, and what harm would there be in pursuing the short-term option? That wouldn't prevent us then from, finding a new contractor down the road when that becomes a possibility. Sorry, I'm talking about the
Stuff I'm talking about?
Yeah, the EPA.
Headquarters and the
What I'm wondering is if both the short-term and the long-term thing are compatible with each other, like in the sense that,
that was my sense, and I think the conversations that I was hearing was that if we're pretty solid on the long-term thing, it's even more likely that we get the short-term. Because, they wanna put their dollars to something that's gonna not just fizzle out, right? So, it just would go.
so from my perspective, and I'd love to hear from the other council members on this, it would be in the spirit of the decision we made at the last meeting to pursue that short-term possibility, as well as the long-term possibility. Just seeing that as part of the overall kind of package of assistance that we were looking for. That's just my sense.
I concur.
Okay. Well, let it be known that everybody officially, unofficially agrees with that. But, I think that when we haven't said yes to anything yet, right? So let's imagine that this facilitator that you guys already have the relationship with can get on board with this plan and so forth, right? We're still in an exploratory phase for now, is my sense, because we don't even know if they can.
If you guys all get together and have a forum and you're like, and y'all decide, we need to come to a full stop on this.
Yeah. Is that going to be a problem for you, or is it, okay. Okay.
No, because I understand the challenges you all, because,
Yeah.
and I'll advocate too, because you guys have a lot of challenges here for no fault of your own. You're handed a stick and said, hey, we're gonna make a fire out of this.
There are a lot of constraints we're operating in that we're trying to be mindful of and respectful of, but that, do very much limit what we're able to accomplish, especially in short order.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of folks who've been working with you all and Region 5 too that recognize that too. So I wouldn't be the only one advocating. I think that's, we got some flexibilities, and let's just, I don't see any harm in just looking ahead, and if we have to pull the plug, we'll stop right now.
I think that's totally consistent with what we decided.
If the air
That's
people talk to the water people, they know what we have achieved here so far. Two workshops.
Yeah.
Producing presentations to the general public.
Yeah.
In cooperation with people.
Yeah, that's right.
Those are two things I really want to see happen. I want to see the water program, the air program. Just like, get the air program to know it's water.
Yeah.
Scotty, lead us up.
There you go. So I also want to make sure in our last 10 minutes or so here that we touch base about the revisions to the lead and copper rule. They have come up already in the course of conversation, but I know, Naira, that you in particular wanted to make sure that they were on the agenda for tonight. And I'm just wondering if you have like a vision as far as what the council potentially could be doing in terms of maybe chiming in on these or anything like that.
Yeah, so I had, all this stuff is public. So if you look up, for people who are the recording thing, if you look up EPA letting copper roll improvements, so LCRI, you can see, what that is, like the fact sheets, like the full roll, which is like 600, over 600 pages. There are some things that is going to impact. Well, I would say one of the great things is like people who advocated for Michigan's lead and copper rule revisions. Good job for all of us way back then because the EPA has really adopted a lot of that stuff. For people in Michigan, people in Flint, there isn't really too much that's going to change from what we're living under, other than just two slight changes would be dropping the action level to 10 parts per billion, and if a water system exceeds, I want to say like 3 action level seasons in 5 years, like they would have to provide filters. Like those are like kind of like the smaller tweaks. There's going to be, for people outside of Michigan, there's going to be a lot more. But I was hoping that this is like really like crunch time of really like people putting in their comments because, like if you think of it in an electoral aspect, you may not like everything about a person, but you're still going to vote for them or not vote for them. But with a comment, like you can put all of your stuff out there. You can say, I like this, I don't like this is why I don't like this, I think you should change it to this. And so it's like a really good opportunity to really put that out. So, we're working with like people with the state and federal partners to really try to make this easier. So, there is an actual portal where you have to put in, I can't remember what the name is, but for, to put in the Federal Register to actually submit a comment. And so I was really hoping that, like the Water System Advisory Council, as a council, could, submit a comment, but knowing that we don't have a quorum.
Well, although
if we could just like as individuals submit comments.
absolutely. So the 60-day timer started on, was it like the 6th or something?
Yeah, it's like last week. So it will be like mid-February, and the timeline is like there's going to be that, and then like in the fall of 2024, that will be when the final rule, and just highlighting like there's a mandate for most water systems to get like the let out of like 10 new like service lines within 10 years. One thing that we have in Michigan that's not at the federal level is like water systems are required to pay for that
Yes.
and not pass on that additional cost to ratepayers. There is that's not true at the federal level. So like a water system could charge the customer or put it in the water grid. So it like that's something that I'm personally gonna say like this shouldn't be an additional burden, to ratepayers around that. But for the most part, a lot of the things that we have at the state level is that absorb. And there's like another thing that like around schools and stuff. But we in Michigan we were able to pass like lead testing for schools, and that's something that we too are able to it's kind of a mess at the federal level, but we don't have to worry about that.
Well,
we're just focused on what's happening at the state and locally.
One possibility I was thinking of, is, since it would be a tall order, given that we can't make any decisions tonight, for like the council to draft a statement of its own prior to the deadline. I know that, you know, Naira and I are both on emails that are going around amongst various groups that are kind of collaborating on developing a collective response to the proposed revisions. And you know, there are several Flint groups involved. So there's Flint Rising, there's What Are You Fighting For, there's Environmental Transformation Movement of Flint, that are all kind of in this loop. Dr. Kent Key has chimed in, I noticed. But I was thinking that if the Flint groups collectively were to make some kind of a statement, develop that, and then maybe we could manage to meet in time to decide whether we want to sign on as a council to that, that would be one possibility.
Yeah, one of the things of note is like when it comes, you know, kind of like at the state level too, is like if we do kind of a sign-on letter or a sign-on comment, that only counts as one.
Right, good point, yeah.
So like, you know, possibly encouraging folks to, you know, individually kind of do stuff. Like I want to say like probably the first year, like Flint Rising, we're going to be standing up, you know, something that will be more easier for people to, you know, submit comments, and we're going to be doing some canvassing and stuff. But don't want to get into, you know, too far afield. But what I can do like is like there has been some stuff kind of developed that I can send out to the list so people can kind of see like this is what it is in a more, I would say, easier way. You don't have to like navigate the EPA website. And also like the materials that the EPA also shared, because they have kind of like these fact sheets for water systems, for like states, for like individuals. That is not like the 600 plus pages. So they're just like, you know, like one or two sheets, which, you know, is easier to kind of read and see what the highlights are going to be.
Absolutely, that would be great. Yeah, I was thinking that I should send around that fact sheet that you're talking about. It's you know, when you type in lead and copper rule, it does not take you to the page with that. So you have to type in, like you said, improvements, lead and copper rule improvements or whatever. Only then do you get the website.
That's because under Trump, and I know that there were Flint groups that there were some Flint people who were able to, you know, do this community session that we had applied to get from Michigan. That was called the Lead and Copper Rule Revision. And so I think that they're trying to just separate all of these things, but you will not.
It's confusing.
There.
It's very confusing.
The feds.
Yeah.
The feds and all their alphabet letters.
Yeah. But that would be great. So if we could have the fact sheet sent around, and then any talking points that people could use in composing their own comments to submit as individuals. If we could at least kind of rally council members around an effort like that, again, doesn't have to be like an official council decision type thing. That would be great.
And we were responding to the general mailing that did not come from this body.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So my clock just clicked over to 7:30. That's time. Is there anything else that anybody wants to bring up?
It's all this Scotty saying. Beam us up, Scotty.
I'm ready to be beamed up for the night. So, with that said, I will unofficially close this unofficial meeting.
I didn't hear you.